Hello and welcome to hobby vlog number 221. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll jump straight into the Reaper challenge. So if any of you are interested in winning a Reaper miniature from myself, all you need to do is go into the description of this video or look at what's on screen now, pick one of those miniatures and put a comment below including the name of the miniature you'd like me to paint next week, and that will enter you into a draw to win one of the miniatures I've painted so far this month, and also at the end of the year there'll be a bigger draw. So, sorry, a bit of a frog in my throat. Last week I had a lot of fun painting up Eilluvasheth, which is hard to say, the Succubus Queen, and that has been finished. I'll put a picture on the screen now, a bit hard to show it off by holding it up, and there will be the painting video for that will come out tomorrow. Last week I also had a really good bunch of voting. I had the most votes so far I've had all along. 16 people voted. There was a tie and I did a randomisation, and Pearl the Mermaid won. I don't know if that focused, but Pearl the Mermaid won. So that's what I'm going to paint up this coming week. And as I say, all you need to do to get involved and get entered in with the chance of winning one of these miniatures is pop a comment below with the name of the miniature you want me to paint from this week's selection. And that is on screen now or in the description below. So thank you ever so much if you do get involved, it's really cool. And if you don't, then that's fair enough. But it is a shame because yeah, the more votes, the more fun it is for me. So yeah, thanks for being involved. So this week's been good. Andrew and Rosie came home, which is obviously a wonderful thing. And I've had a lot of fun with Rosie this weekend. I'm going to get this video edited quickly and then go and spend some more time with her. Unfortunately, Angela's not great, so we're not going to get to a game today. So there's going to be no game in next week's vlog, as well as no game in this week's vlog, because obviously they were away on holiday last Sunday, so there was no opportunity to have a game. So sorry for that if anyone's looking forward to seeing this for the update on the One Ring campaign. That's not happening. So thank you for watching. Leave a comment below. Don't forget to vote. I'll see you again at the end. Alright, this is actually week 9. This is the 9th week I've been running this, which is just incredible. And it's really fun, I must admit. Doing this, painting, getting you guys and girls to choose a miniature for me to paint every week has been really made this year so far a lot of fun and helped me through some tough times. I must admit, it's been a tough year, and it's really helped. So thank you to everyone that's voted, and please continue to. So this week is Eilluvasheth, Eilluvasheth, the Succubus Queen. Fantastic looking model. And yeah, as per usual, my normal routine, what's going to happen is I'm going to get some hot water, hot soapy water, give her a good scrub with a toothbrush, an old toothbrush of mine, let her dry naturally, and then what I'll do is I'll mount her to a base and prime. Now you can see here that she has a bit of a scenic base, so I will decide what base to put her onto while I'm doing that. I'll have a think about it, but I might even mount her or put her onto a little bit more of a scenic base, so potentially have a large base and build this up so it looks like the top of a column, and that's what I'm thinking about doing right now. So she'll be quite a tall model, but I think she's a queen and she deserves it. So yeah, I'm going to give her a scrub, and I will bring you back and show you what I'm doing with the base, show you how I do the base if I do decide to do that scenic one. So let's get on with it. It's time to start the last of my Nationality starter sets for Blood and Plunder, and it's the Dutch. So if we have a look in here, as usual, we've got a bunch of the blister packs. We have the Enterploeg. Some fantastic names in here, by the way. The Zeeleden, sorry about my pronunciation. The Militi, and another set of Militi, militia, I presume. We have Capers, and then another set of Capers. So we have 2 units where we've got 2 each. We have the Militi where we've got 2 each, and the Capers where we've got 2 each. And then we've got 2 of the more specialist units, the Zeeleden and the Enterploeg. So what we're going to do is, as usual, I'll take these out of their packs, give them a good scrub in hot water, then clean them up, and remove any flash, and then once I've done that I will then prime them with my grey primer. I'll have a look at what they look like when that's done, and after that I will get them onto the painting bench and they will appear on an average painter as they're finished, and I will report back when each set of units is done. So for example, I'll paint all 8 capers before I report back at the end of the capers one. So yeah, let's get these scrubbed and cleaned up, and I'll report back when that's done and when they're ready to be painted. Right, let's have a look at this base then. So you can see that she's still wet. I've just washed her up, so she's going to need to be left to dry before I do anything else, but I'm just going to make a start on the base. So I've got this length of dowel and I've got this bit of MDF. This actually is a blank from a kit which I saved because I am that tight. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this down to about 1 inch, maybe 1.5 inches, about 4 or 5 centimeters, and then she will be stood on top of that. So I just make use of this saw here, which is actually designed for cutting plastic, but it goes through the balsa wood pretty well. The challenge is to get the cut straight, which I always struggle with, but you can see it goes through it quite nicely. It's not a bad tool for the job. Don't actually mind that damage too much because it is going to be a damaged I want it to look a little bit like a damaged tower. So you can see that we can sit that on there, and I will be able to glue her onto the top, and that will look like a tower. So the first thing I'm going to do is carve in some blocks into this. So I'll do that using the side of a knife. So if I just take my Citadel knife, I'm going to do all of this on camera, but this is one of the pleasures of working with balsa. You can literally just draw lines in it like that. So I will use the side of it and we'll scribe in some blocks like this, and I'll get that done mostly off camera because it's a little bit tedious to watch this. But yeah, that's going to be, when that's painted up, I'll be able to make that look like blocks. So as simple as that. There we are. So I'll get this scribed, and then I'm going to glue this to the, so one of the reasons I chose wood, I'm going to glue this to the wood. You're just using PVA, clamp that in place, let that set properly, and then I will paint the base and make it look like stone, and I'll bring you along for that. So the next time you see this, this will be scribed and it will be stuck to the bottom, and I'll be about to start priming and painting it. I've just been measured up for the fence, and I've got 5 lengths that I need: 125mm, 150mm, 45mm, 150mm and 35mm. And I was just looking at some MDF, and then I came across these strips of card which I've trimmed off some while ago, and they're actually pretty much exactly perfectly the right length. And I just would rather use card than MDF, than balsa, sorry, because it's just a little bit easier to work with, and I prefer it. It's slightly harder to damage. You can really easily splinter, and thin balsa does fall apart. So what I'm about to do now is trim these to the specific lengths that I need, and then I've got these matchsticks that don't have any kind of lighter on them, and I'm going to glue those every, I don't know how long, I'll work it out and let you know. Glue them along as uprights, and that will also be how I'll fix it into the ground, and then we'll paint and fit and we'll have our fencing up. So I am going to do this style of fencing, which is basically going to be panel fencing. That's what I want. I want it to look like it's trying to hide from view some of the stuff, so yeah, that's the point. The other thing to say is that this is just over 10mm thick, just around 11mm tall, which is going to be absolutely perfect because I don't want it to be a massive sight block. I just want it to look like some kind of like wood panel fencing, which is preventing, like I say, things getting on, people from being able to crawl through, and a little bit of a sight blocker. So I'm going to cut this to length, and I'll bring you back when I'm about to start gluing the matchsticks in place. The matchsticks are going to have to be trimmed. I'm probably going to leave 2 or 3mm off the bottom. So I'll also split these down, just use some scissors to cut them, and then glue them in place. So I'll get all that cutting done and then bring you back. So I changed my mind, and I've decided I'm going to make use of my chop it, which doesn't get all that much use. but is awesome. So it's such a great tool to use for this kind of job where you've just got some lengths of things like this to cut up that you all want to be done at the correct length and at the same length. Really like these bits of kit. Really recommend it. This was bought for me as a present by my parents quite a long time ago, and sometimes I forget that I have it. But yeah, highly recommend it. And as you can see, just how simple it is to use. So I'll get a load more of these cut up and then bring you back for what I promised I'd do when I'm about to start gluing them into place. Alright, so I've got a whole batch of these cut, and yes, I did manage to nick my finger, but it was only a small amount, doesn't matter. So I'm going to put these about 2 centimeters, 20mm apart, and I'm going to make use of super glue for this. So my plan is as follows. I have tweezers, and what I'm going to do is run a small line of super glue where I want them to go, and then use the tweezers or the pliers, needle nose pliers, to put it in place to keep myself from getting stuck like that. So I'm going to work along, do all of them like that. That wasn't very well focused in. Sorry, I wasn't focused on the right bit of card, but I'm sure you saw. I'll just do one more. I'm going to do that all the way along, and then by the end of each row, each card thing, I should find that they're all set. That's the reason for using super glue, is it sets quick. Just drop that on. There you are. Push it into place, because I did that very badly. Now that I did the first one perfectly. There we are. Just hold that in there for a second. That should set pretty quickly, and then we'll move on to the next one. So I'll get all of these done and then bring you back for the next step, which will be painting. Yeah, fiddly, but we'll get there. I've gone backwards and forwards a little bit in my mind on what I'm going to do next, and I've decided that I'm going to paint the black base coat on the wood first. Then once that's dried, I can glue the miniature on top, and then I can do my milliput work to make the top of the, to potentially, as I say, it's got this damage at the top, so I'm going to make it so that it will look a little bit crumbled away behind her. So I'm going to do it that way around. I'm just using black house paint. Nothing special, it literally is just a big, as you can say, a massive pot of black paint. I'm just going to put that over it all, like so. So I get that coloured, get that done, and then once that dries, then I will super glue the miniature in place. And once that's set, then I'll bring you back, and we'll do the little bit of milliput work that I'm going to do, and then I'm going to have to paint the milliput back. But that was what I was umming and ahhing, whether I did the milliput first. But I really need the miniature to be glued in before I do the milliput, and I don't want to get black primer on the miniature at this stage, so that's why I've done it this way around. This will also act to seal the wood and make it a little bit easier to work with. So I'm going to get black paint on my hands, but whatever, I'll go and wash them. So there we are, we'll let that dry, shouldn't take too long, and then I will do the next steps. I'll bring you back when I come to do the milliput. So yeah, progress is occurring. Alright, black paint's dried, so I just thought I'd film this just for the fun of it. Just going to slap some sib glue on the bottom. Make sure that I align it correctly with the damage, and slap that down on top. So that will dry very, very quickly. What I'll then do, I've got to go and cook dinner now, actually, feed my chickens. But I'll come back up later and we'll do some milliput on the back there, just fill that top out with the milliput. And then, yeah, we'll be ready for priming the miniature and the base. So I'll probably prime the base black and the miniature grey. I am considering putting the colour shift onto the wings, but you do that over the top of gloss black, so I will still prime everything grey for the miniature. But yeah, pretty cool. Pretty happy with how this is turning out. Really happy I had that idea about putting her onto a plinth. I think that really does make it look quite awesome. Onwards. I've just realised that after my excellent decision to bin off the previous build of the Castillo de San Marcos, I'm actually light on terrain builds. So I've just gone and had a look at my stash, and I pulled this one out. More Wild West terrain, but awesome Wild West terrain. So this is the Pitchstone Quinn Street, which I picked up. It's got a nice boardwalk and a 3-story building, which is quite, I haven't got any 3-story buildings at this stage in my that are built, and then like quite a normal looking 2-story building with a little bit of a covered sidewalk and what have you. So yeah, I'm gonna get this opened up, have a look and see what's inside it, and get this assembled. So first thing to do, as always, is get rid of this nasty single-use plastic. So yeah, let's tear this out the way. Let's have a look. This is a really nice box. If it comes out, it looks nice. Wow, there we are. So, as per usual, there are no instructions in the box. They are online, so I will have to go and check that out on the website. And I don't bother printing them anymore. I just open them up on my browser and have a look at them while I'm working. But also, as per usual, you can see there is very little waste going on here at all. And that's one thing that I really like. The blots are the same. They don't waste very much material. Look at how well they're packed in. So yeah, I'm going to get that checked out, find the instructions, and I'll bring you along for the build and the paint. I might actually look to mirror. I don't think I've got very many blue buildings, so I might actually look to mirror the style on that. Yeah, another new project to start. I'm going to make a start this evening before I go to bed, which will be happening soon. So the first piece is on sheet 5. We have 2 corner pieces that are on sheet 1. I'm just cutting out the second one of these, and this is going to be the first couple of panels. It's late, I'm not going to do much of it, but I did just want to make a start. I was initially thinking about doing the painting on the sprue, but I decided against that because there's 2 buildings and it's not clear which sprue has the parts for which building, so I'm just going to do some loose assembly and paint them when when it's all been assembled, which is not always the best way to do it, but I think in this case it's going to be okay, and frankly it's the only way it's going to work for me because, as I say, it's not just one building. So the way you work on this one is we're sticking a piece there and just knock those blanks out. Get that blank out. There we are. And you're sticking a piece, I need to double check the instructions, but there, so these are the, or is it like that? There we are. And then you get another piece that goes across. So I'm just going to quickly check the instructions because I've actually got them to the wrong page. So let me just quickly scroll that down. Okay, so I was doing it on the wrong one. It goes on that one. So that was the mistake I was making there. So I do a piece there and a piece there, like so. They stand up, as you can see, so I'll put a little bit of glue to hold those together. And then, so that goes like that, and that goes like that. And then there's going to be a piece that's going to go in between, which is that one there, also on sheet 5. So I'll get those glued together, show what it looks like, and then I'm going to wrap up for the evening and go to bed, get an early-ish night. But I'll have made a start, and then tomorrow, if I get time, I will crack on. Let's see how quickly I can make this. This is the first one that's being built, is the 3-story building, so that is what we are assembling here. Anyway, let's keep on putting this together. There we are, that's come out. So like I say, that one slides over here, and that slides over there. So yeah, nice and easy to put together, as these kits are, and it looks well. Now the challenge will be whether I just dry fit for now and don't put that glue. I've put some glue out on here. I might actually put it back in the bottle and just dry fit for now. And then once I've finished doing the dry fitting, I can potentially then paint it not on, when it's not assembled, at least doing the interiors. So I might do that, but we'll cover that tomorrow. I'm just going to think about that for a bit. For now, I'm just going to do some dry fitting, I think, and not do any gluing. And I can always glue that tomorrow. Right, let's put this glue back in the box, back in the bottle, and I will be back tomorrow for some more assembly, and I'll bring you along when I get to it. Right, so this is all done, ready for painting. So you can see that I filled in the back. That was done with Milliput. And then I've made use of black primer, the surface primer from Vallejo, and I also primed the actual miniature with my normal grey primer. So I will take that downstairs now and get that painted up as soon as I can. I'm really pleased with how the base is looking, but now I need to get it painted. I've got a busy week again collecting the girls from the airport on Thursday, so then they'll be back, so then I'll be wanting to spend more time with Rosie, obviously. So try and get this done in the next couple of days if I can, so so I can achieve my target of this week. But yeah, nice display base, a little bit more dramatic than most of the ones I've done. So yesterday evening I did a little more than I thought I would. I actually assembled the first building, or the ground floor of the first building in its entirety. I say that, but there's actually something that goes over the top of this window, which I'm not assembling yet. The next instructions are things like putting the steps on the side here, and the frames around the windows and the window ledges and what have you. So I am going to glue those in, and this is how I'm going to do it. So this is not glued at all at the moment. This is just held together, which is actually really impressive. I almost don't need glue at this stage, though I will obviously glue it once I'm ready to actually finally assemble it. But what I'll be able to do is, if I put the steps in, for example, that's going to fill in these gaps, which then mean when I paint the inside, I won't have to come back later and touch them up, and that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm going to I might put the support in here, but just not put the top on it for the same reason. So when I go inside, I can paint the inside, and the blanks will be full. So yeah, I'm just going to keep cracking on assembling this. If there's anything that causes any kind of interest or drama and confuses me, then I will pop the camera on and highlight those points, so that if you are making this kit, I can make the mistakes, and then hopefully it'll help you to avoid them. So yeah, so I'm just going to keep carrying on assembling, and at the very latest I'll bring you back once I start painting, before I do the actual gluing together. So yeah, pretty happy I've started this. I'm not going to put any pressure on myself to do it at any pace. It's just going to be done when it's done. Oh, well, these are glued up nicely. I've left them overnight because you don't want to get super glue on your paintbrush. But what I'm going to do is just make use of some of this. This is my primer, which I do sometimes use for terrain as well as some miniatures. And honestly, I don't prime many of my miniatures. That's hard for me to say. Prime many of my miniatures in black anymore. So I use grey. So this is now available more for this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to prime and base coat the entirety of these in black. So then it will seal it, and also I can then paint up from that into a different colour that I want. So maybe a reddy brown, or even paint them white on one side and brown on the other. Haven't decided fully. It's going to be a bit fiddly to do this, so I won't film all of it, but that's what I'm doing now. I'm just going to get all these base coated, let it dry, turn it over, do the other side, just get the whole thing done, and then I'll bring you back when I come to do the actual painting of the real colour that I want it to be, which will be a bit later on today maybe. If I want to get these onto the layout before Rosie comes home, I need to get a bit of a crack on today basically. So going to get these done and try and get these mounted today. So first of all, priming, then I'll bring you back shortly for the painting. And yeah, I am using a shot glass that I've poured the paint into. I found this to be quite a good way of accessing these bottle-based primers when you don't want to use a wet palette, and I don't have my silicone palettes up here with me. They're down in my painting area, so I just use this shot glass. So there we are. Little tip maybe if you're wondering how to go about doing that. Right, I'll stop mattering now and just crack on with this. I'll be back in a bit. Well, they dried nice and quickly. So what I'm going to do now is paint it up with this nice reddy brown that I have here. One of the first items I ever bought actually for my hobbying. So let's just see. Yeah, I think that's going to look nice, isn't it? So I might take a couple of coats, but I'm just going to paint it over like this, wait for it to dry, then do the other side like I did in the other one. And when I'm happy with the colour, then we'll go and get this fitted, and that'll be the next thing you'll see in this project. So yeah, let's get that painted up. Ooh, get that painted up, and I will bring you back for when I come to fit them. Right, well, I've been having a lot of fun painting up this, and I've got to the stage now where I think I want to stick everything in place. Having said that, I have painted up both the figures, and so I'm not going to glue her in place, but I do want to glue some of these in place, so then I can come along and do the washes and what have you when this is set. So it's going to be a bit of a pain to do this, and particularly a bit of a pain to do this on camera, so I'm going to turn the camera off because I'm going to get my hands all in the way and it'll be a bit annoying. And then I'll show you what it looks like when it's done, and we will then, yeah, well then, I think I've done that wrong. Might have to take it off straight away. Yeah, I'm going to do this not on camera because I did that wrong. If you look at it, this is where the meat is, and this is where the meat is here, so this actually needs to come round. And various other bits and pieces need to happen. There we are, that's a better place, which means this one's going to actually go in here. There we are. Right, well, I'll get this done off camera and I'll bring it back when I've got it all glued in place. Well, here we are. They're all nicely glued on now. And as you can see, oh, I can't, there we are, that's better. The two figures sit on nicely, they don't need to be glued on, so I can swap them one for the other, depending on which one I want to have on there. So what I'm going to do now, take these down and finish painting them up and videoing it for an average painter, because I have filmed all of this, and then this project will be done, which is really cool. I'm probably going to give this to Rosie with this figure, and that one just will have been a bit of practice painting, which is what a lot of this is anyway. So yeah, I'm going to get this finished up, bring you back, show you what it looks like when it is completed, but it's very, very close now, I think, very close indeed. Well, after the failure of my Castillo de San Marcos, which was only a few days ago, I've been left with this big stack of cardboard that I was just going to put back up into storage because I don't like wasting things. I've just been having an interesting chat with a new member of the TCU Discord called Your Old Memes, new to the hobby, who is struggling to get hold of thick XPS where he lives, which is a completely fair enough problem to have. A lot of people have trouble getting hold of materials. I can get that easily, but I can't get foam core. So you know, there's all sorts of different places have different eases of finding different materials. And so I was chatting away, and I suggested the idea of making a hill entirely out of cardboard and using the technique that I used for the Castillo, which worked really well. It's just, yeah, I made mistakes and what have you. So it was a really good learning process. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to do that. So here we are. I'm going to take the materials you see here and some screwed up paper and make some papier-mâché. So I'm not even going to make use of my modelling compound. So just toilet paper and glue. And I'm going to make myself a hill using cardboard and paper and glue and nothing else. So let's get to it. I'm going to pull out some of these bits of cardboard. I think there's some larger bits that I can use for a base. Then I'm going to work out how I'm going to do the cutting. So for example, there's a good looking base, cool. going to be able to make use of these pieces here, these long thin pieces, to make the to make the cross pieces, and I'm going to use the same technique as I did for the Castillo. So I will have ribs, basically make ribs and put them across, so it'll end up being a really strong structure. Fill the gaps with screwed up cardboard, which is also screwed up paper. So over here, whenever I receive things, I often get screwed up paper as a filling material, and I save that for this use actually, for filling gaps, and then it'll be toilet paper over the top. So let's get cracking and see how quickly I can do this, and how soon I can get this video out to help this guy and help anyone else out there who may be thinking, well, I can't get foam. And this guy had picked up floral foam, which I have a big issue with. It's got formaldehyde in it, I believe. It's nasty, it crumbles, it is not stable. So while it might look stable now, it will just fall apart over the years, unless you absolutely soak it with PVA. I have heard people having success with it in that way, but I would just rather no one ever bought that stuff ever, not even for flower arranging, because the dust is very nasty. It's really, really poisonous as far as I'm aware. So yeah, let's get this in there. Let's have a look and see how this works. I hope this is an enjoyable craft to watch, enjoyable build to watch, and maybe inspiring. Okay, so I've got my bit of cardboard, and what I'm doing now is I've drawn on a kidney shape to which is going to be the extent of my hill, and so that's basically going to be how where my cross pieces are going to go. So what I'll then do is we will then work out this rough. I mean, this is just obviously rough. It's not a. I'm not doing this as a exact. This is just to give me an idea, because what I can then do is come along with my ruler and draw some lines. This is where my cross pieces are going to go, and then I can measure those, and then I can cut the strips to these lengths, and then when I've done that, I can work out the contours, because this is going to be relatively simple. I'm only going to need to do this many cross members. I'm not going to need to do lots and lots and lots of different heights. I'm going to need to cut a length, this length, this length, this length, and then do the contour that I want, and then do the cross pieces and work out where the contour is. So measure how far in it is and measure the height at that. There's going to be a little bit of measuring, well, a lot of measuring and a little bit of maths, but that's the plan. So the first thing is to put these cross pieces in and then measure them and then cut them, and then I'll do the down pieces, measure them and cut them, and then I'll stick them in place. So let's get this done. I should say that I'm aware that not everyone will want to have a smooth hill like I'm doing here, and this technique should be possible to do a stepped hill using this technique as well, and maybe I'll give it a try at some point, but I'm just going to explore the idea on this build. So I might do the stepped hill. This is not the right ruler. I might do the stepped hill in another video. Yeah, that's better. Right, so I'll get this done, get these widths measured up, lengths measured up, and get those cut, and then I'll bring you back for the next step when I get to it. As you can see, I've got my measurements on, and also found the correct ruler to use for this technique. So these are the lengths of these cross pieces that I'm going to need to cut, so I'll get those cut out now, and then what I'll do, the way I'll work it is I will look at the contour. I'm thinking that I might do a bit of a cliff as well, just to show how that can work. So have a steeper side and a shallower side. That's quite often how I do my hills, to be honest. So yeah, the next thing to do is get my cardboard and cut these to size. Now I am deliberately, and this is, as I say, offcut from another project, using it so that you've got if you're doing the corrugated, so the corrugations are going up, because obviously, as you can see, that bends, but you have good compression in that way, so that will make it more rigid, so it will sit on like that. So I'm going to take these measurements, measure them off, cut them. The one thing I do want to say, as this is a bit of a beginner video, and hopefully is going to inspire people to to get into doing things with cardboard. The one thing that I would highly recommend that you invest in, and I have several of these, is a safety ruler. So this was the first safety ruler I bought, which is okay, but these ones here from Victor Cutting Edge are just the bomb. They are probably the best thing I've ever bought. I have several of them at different lengths, and you can see that they're just gonna keep your hand very safe. You're not gonna, if you slip, you're not gonna cut anything. You've got a really large handle to hold on to keep it secure, and it's got this cloth underside, which means it doesn't slip. So you get really good accurate cuts very safely, and you're not going to hurt yourself. As I say, this is okay. It's going to keep you safe, but it moves around a lot more. It's not as easy to keep still. I highly recommend. They're not cheap, but they're a really, really good investment. They might not be cheap, but your fingers, you've only got one of them. So yeah, they're a really good investment. Anyway, so I'm going to make use of my cutting, my safety ruler, and I will cut out just at this height for now. I don't think I'm going to be going any taller than 10 centimeters, which is what that is. The middle one will be 10 centimeters, otherwise the contour would just be too steep and it would end up not being able to stand any miniatures on it at all. So I'm just going to cut from 10 centimeter high cardboard, each of these lengths, and then I will bring you back and show you how I'm going to go about working out the contours. Right, so I've cut out all these cross members, and then I've basically changed my mind, which does happen quite a lot. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm not going to have as many cross pieces. It's going to be fiddly to fill things in. It's just not necessary. So I'm going to keep number 4, number 6, and number 2. So we're going to throw away number 7. Number 6 can go there. Throw down number 5. Number 4 will go there. And I mean, they're still quite close together, so it's going to be strong. Throw away number 3, and then number 2 can go there. So the next thing I'm going to do is I've drawn all these cross pieces in here, but I think actually that's probably too many as well. What I might do is just have one here and one here, so just do 2 going across that way. So I'll measure that up. What I'll then do as well is measure this distance so I can get the measure this distance so I know where on each cross piece my the rib this way is going to come. So that's something I need to do, and then I'm going to cut those out. So whether I do this one and this one, or whether I do this one and this one, I'm not sure. I'll have a little bit of play around. But I did just want to point out as well that I've kept this tab on the bottom. The tab on the bottom is very useful because what we're going to end up doing is using that to stick this down to our cardboard. So we will cut tabs like this, bend one way, one the other, and then glue it down, and that will hold it really, really securely upright. And particularly when you've got the cross pieces as well, it's going to be really, really secure. So there we are, a change of mind already, and I've not even started on the project, but I think it's a very wise change of mind to have really that we don't have so many ribs that it's going to be really difficult to fit everything in. So yeah, let's get some measuring, make some decisions onto which of the vertical ones I'm going to have, get those cut out, and then I'll bring you back and show you how we're actually going to get the contour in correctly and then stick it down to the base. Well, there we are. She's done. Didn't do it in one sitting, but I did do it in one day. And the colour shift, if that can pick up, yeah, there we are. Look, the colour shift is beautiful on the wings. It's really hard to get pictures of that because it needs to move. But there we are, beautiful colour shift. And the base looks nice as well. Did a little bit of kind of like green going down the sides as well, just to make it a little bit more interesting and make it look a little bit aged. And yeah, the concept I had in my head, which was the red skin with the gold, looks really nice as well. Really, really, really pleased with that. So yeah, that's done and dusted. There will be the painting video released for this on An Average Painter at the beginning of next week. So on Monday after the vlog. So if you want to see how I painted it, then you can watch that. But another one achieved, and that can go on the shelf. And now I can wait to see who wins the vote this week, which is already hotting up. I think we've got a tie again this week so far, so yeah, it's going well. I finished my little magic helper and got both the figures painted up, and as I say, they're just sitting on, so I can swap them whenever I want. But I might do another dioramic base for this one, because I think this one is going to go on display, and I'm not entirely sure that well, it wouldn't really matter, but I think that just looks better to be on display in a family household. Not that I'm a prude or our family's a prudes, but you've got to consider other people coming over as well. But I'm really pleased with how this has turned out. It was a lot of fun. It actually took about 2 hours of elapsed time to paint. I know that because, as I say, I film everything, and there will be a video on An Average Painter of me doing this. So yeah, it took me about 2 hours in total to paint, but I'm pretty pleased with how it looks. Yeah, it's been sat there waiting for me to do for quite a long time, so having got it done is quite satisfying. So we're going to go and put this on display and move on to the next project. Right, so progress has been made, and I'm going to show you what I've done. So we have 3 horizontals and 3 verticals. Horizontals are 2, 4, 6, verticals are A, B, C. What I've done is I've worked out with the horizontals a contour. This is 4, so this is going to be the one that sits in the middle. This is 6, this is one at the bottom, and this is 2, so this is one at the top. And I've drawn the contour roughly that I'm going to have on there. I've then offered that up and worked it out and measured across. This is C, so this is this one here, and I've marked where on this it's going to go across the vertical, where it's going to cross the vertical, and I've also marked the height of the vertical at that point, so that's going to need to be kind of like drawn across and marked out. The stage I'm at now is I'm getting close to actually gluing down my horizontal, so I'm going to need to cut out this slope here. You can see that we're going to end up with a bit of a cliff at one end, which is cool. But the thing that I wanted to show you, and I've just done one here as a practice, is how I go about doing the tabs. So the idea for the tabs is that they bend down and give and actually support the support this upright. So I do them angled so that they are a little bit easier to work around when you've got the horizontal and the vertical crossing each other. If you've got them angled, they're not going to get in the way as much, and you'll see what I mean when I come to that stage. But we basically just use a knife or scissors or whatever you prefer to cut out these tabs like so. So I'll get that done. There we are, and then we bend, so we do one forwards, one back, one forwards. In this case, this is 2, so this now is going to be able to sit there, and I can put glue on the bottom of these, weight it down, and it's relatively upright, as you can see, even without me having put the verticals in. And when the verticals are slotted in, it will be very, very secure indeed. So I'm going to continue doing that. I'll cut out number 6. I'll cut these contours out, and once I've got to that stage, I'll show you how I'm going to go about doing the slots, and then we'll glue in place. We'll have to leave it for a little bit, and then we'll come and do the verticals. But this isn't far off needing the filler stage. This is proven to be quite efficient. Right, so next step is the working out how these crosses are going to go. So this is going to be the bottom part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a mark halfway up at 35mm there. On this one is about 50, so about a 2.5. And this one is 3.5, so 175. So we're going to put those marks in there, and then taking my knife, I'm going to slice out the slot for either side of the centre line and remove that section. And that will be how the vertical, when I come along, will interface with this horizontal piece. Simple as that. There we are. Do the same here. Slice, slice, like so. It actually can sometimes be easy to do this with scissors. I just don't have any scissors on me at the moment. And then last but not least, this one here. So that's how as I said, that's how the crossing is going to be achieved. So I'm going to get that done on the other one, and then we'll get these glued in place. And we're going to glue them in place. I'm going to glue them in place. You can use PVA. I'm going to use Copydex because it's just a little bit more grabby. So yeah, bring it back in a second for the gluing. Right, now we get to the fun part. So I'm going to take my glue. I do love copy decks. I've really gotten into it. That's way too much. Yeah, so get some copy decks, slap it on, and then line it up. And it does grab really quickly, copy decks. I think it's rubber based. I think that's why it stinks so badly. So once you've got it really compressed in, it's going to hold. There we are. That's our first bit in there. So it's going to hold that down a bit more. So I'll get that same technique for the other two horizontals and then leave it probably an hour, hour and a half, something like that. I'll come back to it a bit later on, and then we'll start to get the verticals in place, and then we can start to stuff the holes and cover it in toilet paper, which is what I'm most excited about. Right, so I started fitting this fence, and I'm umming and ahhing a little bit as to whether I've made a mistake in how I've cut it, but I don't think I have. And I thought I'd just quickly show you how I'm going about fitting it. I have got a mistake here because I'm going to need to trim this a little bit so we can go over the ridge. But this side, I can show you how it's going to work. So how it's going to work is I'm going to have the fence is going to go across from the corner here and to there, and they're going to have a load of bushes here that will block that off. So the way that I'm working it is I have my bradawl, and what I'm doing is I'm digging a hole straight the way through. Pressed too hard, forgot this is this bit here. I haven't got any modelling compound on. That was a bit clumsy, wasn't it? I'm glad I caught that on camera. So we're just going to punch the hole through, and because there's no modelling compound, there's modelling compound here, those first bits just went through really easy because all they're doing is going into XPS, but it doesn't matter. That gives us a little bit of a base to stick those legs in, and what we can then do is a little bit of super glue on each one, just a little bit, and then I'll put some super glue on this end piece here, and then that will be enough to hold it in place, because hopefully no one's going to be destroying this and knocking it with their hands, but we shall see whether it gets knocked over. Either way, that's going to be sufficient, or at least it was sufficient on the other side. I think because of the mistake I've made with the material, this might be a little bit more difficult at this end. But yeah, there we are. So we'll get that bedded in, like so. And then we're going to do the same for this one. So I'm going to put two holes in where this is going to butt. So we're going to have one here. This does have the air dry clay. This does have the modelling compound, so it makes it a bit easier. Not quite as likely to go catastrophically through. There we are. Another couple of drops of super glue here. And last but not least, a little bit down this end because it's going to touch. And that there is our fence in place. So there we are. Good. So I'll let that go off. I'll go and trim down for the other end so that it will go on the contour that it needs to. But that, I think, is going to be secure enough for what I need. And then the next step to do is going to be to put all of the kind of like brambles and bushes and what have you here. Pleased with that. Right, so now I'm working on the last bits of this, which, as you can see, I've got two of the cross pieces in, or the verticals in, and now I'm going to do the last one. So I've marked in where the contour needs to be, and I'm just going to join those lines smoothly and then cut it out using my sharp knife, just freehand, because this is just the initial support. So if it's not perfect, it doesn't matter, because we're going to be building up over the top of this as well, obviously. So that's going to go over here. What we now do is do our measuring so that we can get our slots for fitting it, and that is going to mean that we're going to cut the bottom half out. So we're going to have a mark there, we're going to have a mark there, and we're going to have a mark there. Before we cut those out, I'm going to do the same thing with the tabs, nice and simple. Just slice them out at an angle like this. There we are. And now we can cut these central slots out. And here we have our middle rib. So we're going to alternate where those folds go, and you can slide that on down, and there we have our basic, this one's not wanting to stay in, but it'll be alright when it's glued. There we have our basic layout of our hill, which is looking pretty cool actually. So what I'm now going to do is come along once again with the glue, and I'll get these put in place and then let it set again. Oh, turn it round. So I know which direction these go because I'm pointing, because I've written on each of these ribs, and the words need to be to the left and to the bottom, and that's how I remember the orientation of these shapes. So just get those glued in, and then we'll leave it. And then a bit later on, we'll come and start filling and papier-mâchéing, which is the thing which is going to take the time. As you can see, this is very quick. And also you can see why I did the angles with the tabs, because they now mesh nicely and don't get in each other's way. That was a lesson learned the hard way. Right, let's get this in and held down correctly. This is the one that keeps wanting to pop out for some reason. And there we are. Cool. Right, so I'll let that all go off, and then come back later and we'll fill the middles with screwed up paper and masking tape, which is how you use it. So I'll show you how that works, and then we'll just get, this one's nearly run out, so we use it quite a lot. I have the cheapest toilet roll you can buy, and I'll cover over the top of that papier-mâché, maybe 4 or 6 layers, and then we'll have a hill. Nearly done. Alright, so that's really secure now, as you can see, and strong. You can literally, that's a lot of my pressure going onto that, and that is not going anywhere. It is super strong, which is a benefit of this technique. What I've got here is some packing material that just came in something I ordered. I'm not totally sure what, and it's going to be a bit noisy, so I won't do much of it with filming, but basically what you're going to do, screw it up and pack it in. Tear a strip, screw it up and pack it in. And you can see that that is then going to mean that when I'm coming to do my papier-mâché, it's not going to be taking as much material, which is what the point of this is. I think I stole this idea from model railway builders. Certainly that was why I've saved all this, and what I'm going to be using it for. You can see just how quick this is as well. So sorry about all the crunching and rattling, but it's so quick, I'm just going to film it all and chatter while I'm doing it. So you literally are looking at filling in the gaps that you've got like this. The easiest ones are the ones where you've got a surround. It's a bit harder to do these ones, but you just need to tear up smaller bits. And if you're a little bit unsure about it staying, let me just grab some masking tape. And you can just use masking tape to kind of hold it in place, like so. If it will hold. This is the rubbish masking tape that's not very sticky. So get sticky masking tape and that will work. So yeah, we're just going to fill all of this gap in. Battery's going in my camera, so I might have to change that shortly. And I might actually need a little bit more packing material. So I may stop the clip here now, because I need to change my battery anyway, and bob up and get some more of this. But you can see the technique, you can understand the point. I will be back very shortly to show what it looks like when it's when this stage is done, and then I've got a big pile of toilet paper which I'm going to start to put over the top. Well, there we are. So you can put more masking tape over if you want. I'm just getting annoyed with this masking tape because it keeps pulling away. It's not very sticky. Cheap masking tape, but that's not the worst thing in the world to have cheap masking tape on a project like this. So what we're going to do now is, I have my PVA glue, I have my toilet roll, and what we're going to do is we're going to start laying the toilet roll over the top. Now I don't know if I'm teaching people to suck eggs here, but papier-mâché is super easy. So what you do is you start putting your toilet roll on, and you get it kind of soaked in PVA, and it's a process involving some patience, which makes it a challenge for me because I'm quite impatient. This stage I'm going to use big sheets. Later on I'll probably have to go to thinner sheets, but what we're doing is basically building up a layer of PVA with paper, and then put another layer over the top of it, put some PVA and water on it, another layer on the top of it, PVA and water on it, rinse and repeat. And this is the slow part of this process, particularly this first bit where you're trying to get your first layer on. PVA obviously does also reactivate, so yeah, just be patient here basically. Get your first layer on, and then potentially you can build up any holes like this. You can build up with either more screwed up cardboard and put another, and do it in multiple steps. I probably will not do that. I'm going to see how it goes basically. And what I'll probably do is roll the camera every now and then, so not for the whole of it, but if there's an interesting stage or something going on, then I'll roll the camera. But basically just to show you, you're going to do it like this, and once you've got a couple of layers, let it dry, which is what takes time, particularly in winter over here because it's cold. So I might take this down and put it near the fire to dry, and then once you've dry and you've got a little bit of a progress on that, then you can put more paper down, more toilet paper down. So yeah, simple as that. Just takes a bit of time. So I'm gonna turn the camera off now and put another YouTube video on that I'm just watching, model railway one as it happens, and I will be back when I've got something more to show you. We're going to get there. It's going to take time, but I'll bring you back when I've done, probably when I'm onto the second level. So once I've got the whole of this done, I'll show you what it looks like, and then when it's dried, I'll come back as well. Well, there we are. That took me probably half an hour, maybe, something like that. Maybe not even half an hour. And that's enough for now. I'm going to take that downstairs now. I've got the fire lit. Going to go and watch a film relax with the puppies and stop fiddling with it. But I'm pretty happy with how it's looking. There's a couple of points where I've got an issue. It collapsed a little bit over here, as you can see, and here. Now, what I'm going to do, I've tried to solve it, but it's not possible while it's wet. So I'm going to wait for that to dry, and then what I'll be able to do is actually ball up some of the paper, dip it in glue, and put it in like that. And then once that's dry, then that will support the weight, and I'll be able to fill those two little spots in there, and maybe a little bit here. What I probably should have done is a little bit more of the masking tape up here, but it'll be okay. It's this is supposed to be the cliff area, so I don't mind it having a few angles and a little bit odd. The access is okay. It's a bit steep, but it's okay. Your miniatures are going to fall down on some of it, but I think there is a way of getting up, particularly if I smooth that a little bit further as well, maybe smooth that also. But I'm happy enough with it. This is the first time I've tried this technique. I'm trying it for new as well as, yeah, I'm not saying I've done this before. So yeah, I'm going to be learning while I'm filming. But I think this is going to look really good. And as someone said on one of the Discords, it's going to be really light as well, which is nice. It'll be easy to store and easy to transport. So going to pop this somewhere in a warm room to dry overnight, and then I'll be back next time I work on this. I'll turn the camera on and show you what it looks like when it's dry, and then we'll get another layer of the toilet paper on there. Well, this is the state of play the next morning. I did sit this down relatively near the fire downstairs, and parts of it are hard, as you can see, and parts of it are still standing with PVA. So I haven't got time right now. I could put another layer on right now, but I haven't got time. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set this in front of the fire down up here in my office, which I've had to like because it's chilly and damp here. And then a bit later on, when I get a bit of time, I'll come and do another coat, and I'll show you what it looks like when I've done that. I've also clamped this to a board. It was starting to warp a little bit. I did hope that potentially it wouldn't because it's such a big area, but it was. When I finish this, I will be cutting out like around here. Won't be keeping it square. So where I'm clamping will not be covered with any material at all. So that's my usual way of preventing warping. So yeah, so I'm just going to leave it on that, and it's stable. As you can see, I've got the four corners all at the same level, so it actually makes it a little bit easier to move around as well. So yeah, get this stuck in front of the fire for an hour or two while I do a few other bits and pieces, and then I'll be back later to get another coat of the toilet paper on. But as you can see, it's already hardening up in places really nicely. It's definitely not thick enough yet. It needs at least two, if not three more layers to go over the whole thing before it's going to be hard enough to for playing on. Right then, I've done a couple more coats, and it's really starting to come along now. It's still a bit damp, a bit soft in places, but you can see it's getting quite a nice hard shell. I'll decide tomorrow when I wake up whether I'm going to do another coat of the toilet paper. I might do, but I'm really pleased with how it's looking. It's a really nice organic shape, much more organic than I've achieved in the past with other techniques, so really happy with that. Yeah, it's been a bit slow, as I've said. It's not as quick as going with modelling compound and at XPS, but it's looking great. I'm very happy with it. Once this is to a good level, I'll start to paint it and put texture on it. So probably the next time you see this is just before I do the texture, and when I start doing that, and I'll tell you whether I've done any more layers of the toilet paper. But yeah, pretty happy with how this is going. I'm really happy to have given this technique a try. Alright, so I have left this to completely dry, and it's yeah, it seems like it's okay actually. I don't think I need another coat of papier-mâché on top of it. So now we're going to go for the next step. So I've got what I call scenic glue. There is a video in the description of every single one of my videos actually showing how I make this, but it is just PVA or wood glue mixed up with some water and some washing up liquid or dish soap. And this here is builder's sand, which I have sieved and sifted to get it down to be quite small. And what I'm going to do, simple as this, is paint some more PVA on over the top, like so, and then I'm going to throw sand on it. And what this will do is it will give some texture, and it will also provide a little bit more strengthening. So it will take a little bit of time to do this because it's quite a large project, but all you do is you do that, leave it a couple of seconds, and if I can get this in shot, yes, come along and tip it off. Literally takes that long, and then we'll put that back down, and you can see the sand has stuck, if you can see, with the high contrast with the sunny day we've got today. So I'm going to do that over the whole of it now, cover everything with sand. I'm not going to do the vertical faces that I've left in for the cliffs because I don't want to have those looking sandy, so I'm not going to put it on here, here and here, but I'm going to put everything else is going to have some of this sand put on it, and then when that's dried I will come back with the same glue, paint over the top of it entirely again. That will seal it in, make it very, very strong, and then I can start painting it and putting grass on it. So yeah, really pleased with how it's looking, and this is the step that makes it turns it from looking like not very much into a hill. I've just sealed this with some PVA, and as you can see it's run down and pooled a little bit. And what you can do if you find it pooling is just come along with a kitchen towel and soak it up, just like that. It's not the end of the world. You can just put it in the sun and it will dry, and it will dry clear. But yeah, if you're finding that it's pooling a little bit, like for example there's actually a little bit there that's pooled, you can just dip in there with your paper towel and take that pooling away just to keep it a bit tidier and cleaner. But I will now just leave this here for a little while. I'm going to have to move it around a couple of times as the sun moves, but it'll dry it really quickly in the sun, and that will be rock solid, really hard now, and then I can paint it. So hopefully it will get dried quickly and I can start painting it today, because I'm enjoying this project and I want to see it done. I'm actually thinking about starting a second one. I've got an idea for a second one, so I might actually start a second one now. So I've got materials together for the next one, and the reason why I'm doing the next one is I want to do it with some bark for the cliffs rather than using just the plain papier-mâché. So I'm not going to go over all the things that you've just seen in the first build, so I will get the base done and I will work out the, I won't refilm things I've done before, but what I'll show you is how I make use of bark, and it really is a cracking little technique. I've got some good pieces here. I'm thinking this one is a particularly good one. It's got a nice shape to it and some good texture. So I'm thinking that I will have that at one end and then have a smooth kind of leading up to it cliff at the end, so kind of a smooth hill leading up to a cliff, and maybe a couple of smaller cliffs on it as well. Try and show off a little bit how I go about doing that. So as I said, I'll do most of this without showing you all of the repeated stuff, and if there's something new for this particular one, then I'll pop the camera on and we'll get it to the same stage, and then we'll paint them all at the same time. So yeah, let's get stuck in, work out roughly what size it needs to be, start building up those ribs, and then I'll bring you back when I come to doing the actual bark work, I think. As you can see, I've got the framework in, and what I'm now looking at doing is attaching my my bark. So I've put a couple of little tabs on here. These are just waste offcuts, and what I'm going to do is stick the bark on to these tabs, which is going to be a little bit faffy, but I think it's going to be okay. So we're basically going to try and do it something like that, and then I will build up to that with screwed up paper and what have you in the same way. So let's see if I can do this on camera. If I can't, then I'll give up and do it off camera, but I'll try and do it on camera. So we're going to slap some of the glue on. We're going to have some clips easily to hand, because you can never have too many clamps, and the first thing that's going to happen here is I'm going to clamp in place this bottom one. This is going to be a bit fiddly. That's that one on there. So now we'll push this in and we'll clamp this one. This isn't the easiest thing in the world, to be honest. Yeah, actually I'm going to clamp that next one there, that one. That one's going to be the next one to clamp. and that should hold it. There we are, those two hold it, which then is going to make it easier for me to come along and clamp that one in place. And last but very much not least, the most difficult one because it's at an angle, clamp that. There we are. So the bark is now in place, and I will now let all of that go off. I've literally just done this all in one go, and it worked really, really well. You can see I've got a nice slope coming up here. I've got the scope to put some more cliff around here potentially, which I might do. But I'm going to let what I've got dry, go off, and then I'll have a look and see whether, like I say, I want to potentially do the bluff continuing around here. I'm really liking how we've got this overhang. I think it's going to be really fun doing that, and making that into a little bit of a, I might put some more cliff underneath here, but like I say, just going to leave what I've got now, let that all set, and then maybe put some more bark here and some more bark underneath here. We shall see. But for now, oh, you couldn't really see that, I didn't have it, yeah. So I'm going to look and see putting the bark under here potentially, or under here and under here. That's what I was saying. Sorry, bad camera work. I'm getting too excited about the actual build. Right, onwards. Oh, you can see I've got quite a lot of bark going on around here, and I've also managed to finish the packing. So I'm now about to start putting on my toilet paper, first layer of toilet paper over the whole of this, and also fill in some of the gaps that I've got. It's going to be interesting to see how well this works. I normally do this with modelling compound, which is which is going to be a bit easier because you can actually wodge it in there and wad it up and fill in gaps a bit easier. But it'd be fun to do this with the toilet paper. So I will get that done and I'll report back on how easy I find it. And yeah, but I'm pretty pleased with the shape. I'm pretty excited to see what it looks like when it's done. The next stage is, let's paint it black. So I've just got black house paint here. I do sometimes mix house paint with PVA, but in this case I'm just doing it as straight black house paint, and I'm just slapping that over the whole lot. So sand, no sand, don't care. Just going to paint it all, and this is going to give us an undercoat, which we'll then be able to bring up with other paints once it's dried. So I'm going to get this done, leave it to dry, and then when we come to the next step, I will of course bring you along and show you what we do. But yeah, nice quick slap or single coat of black paint. Well, this is going well. I've assembled all of these buildings, as you can see, and the roof. Most things aren't glued together. Most of it's just press fit. The windowsills are glued in, and the stairs are glued on, but most things aren't glued, so I'll be taking it apart to paint it. But this is working quite nicely. It's actually been quite a nice little process. I am further ahead. I'm not as far ahead as I seem, because obviously it's not all glued together, but you can see just how tight inside these buildings are. So it's a good idea to have put these together like I have. Then I can take the walls off, can paint the inside of the walls, can paint the outside and the floor, and I'm not going to have like this annoying kind of like brushwork going on down here and having some over things going being painted where I don't want it to, and things like that. So yeah, so that's the first building. I'm going to crack on with the second building. I'm not sure whether I'll start painting this one now and then paint the second building when I've got it done. But for now, just the little bits of glue that I've done needs to dry. So I've glued the roof together, and as I said, these the windowsills, need to let them dry before I do anything. So I'll have a think about it and show you well, let you know what I decide when I get to it. But now it's time for Daddy Saturday with Rosie, so I'm going to go and have some fun. I nearly forgot, but I've just remembered that I need to do the positioning of the sail. Now, as I mentioned, I'm going to do this slightly differently, and it's going to be lateen rigged. And lateen rig means rather than having a fore and aft, you just have a central sail in the middle. And so what I'm going to do, as you can see here, is come along and place these guides. So the guides for the mast, I'm going to place it in the centre. And what I'm then going to have to do is attempt to block up the other holes as well. So this is not proving to be all that easy. Might be easier with super glue, but then again it might be harder. Just too much glue, way too much glue. So what I might actually end up doing is glue one in, let that dry fully, and then come along and put the other one on top. And then what I'll do is I'll need to fill in the hole here and the hole here, which is where the old, where the normal rigging says that it should go. And then we'll have one mast here and one cross stay, whatever it's called. I'm not very good up on the words or the names for things on ships, and that will then be the slightly different rigged, which will be quite a little bit of fun. No, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna spoil it if I fiddle with it. I'm gonna stop fiddling. Tell me to stop fiddling. Stop fiddling. You had that right, and now you got it wrong again. There we are. That's dead centre. Right. Stop fiddling. Leave that. I'll come back. I'll put the next one in once that's dried, and then that will then be ready for the mast. But what you can see is I have painted these entirely in the brown. And I'm going to get stuck in very shortly to doing the detail, which obviously I will show you what it looks like, because we'll do it. I'll turn the camera on when I'm doing it. So yeah, that won't be very long now. The first thing I'm going to paint then is these metal, kind of like what do you want to call them? Gratings. That's probably the word for it, isn't it? So what I've got here is just some grey paint. So I don't have any cheap house paint that's silver, but grey is going to be sufficient for this, because ultimately silver is just, well, gunmetal or grey or whatever is just like a silvery. Silver and grey are similar. I'm struggling to speak today, goodness me. I've just had a bit of a daddy nap on my sofa, and yeah, it's left me a little bit questionable in terms of my brain power right now, which is why I'm struggling for words. So anyway, we're going to come along here, and as you can see, we're going to paint over all these grates with this grey colour, which is going to make it look silver. Silver enough for me anyway, and that'll be quite a nice little look. So I'll get that done, and then we're going to have a think about what colours we're going to do the sides. We've got to do some fun colours on the sides, haven't we? That's the whole point of these boats, is to make them look cool. So yeah, I'll get this done, which is not the most interesting part of the paint job, and I'll bring you back very shortly for what will be an interesting part of the paint job. Let's get it done. I've made a start on the second building, and it's going pretty well, but with the size of this building, I think I'm actually going to do this one glued together. So I'm just actually taking it apart again now. I got it to completely assembled, and thought, you know what, that will actually work for me. So yeah, so that's what I'm about to do now. I'm just going to glue the bottoms on, and these braces here. That's all I need to do, is glue the bottoms of the braces on, and put a little bit of glue in each of the joints. So it'll only take me a couple of minutes, but I just thought I'd share that quickly, because the first one, which is in the background, if I just lift the camera up, so there we are, there's the first one. That's entirely not painted, sorry, not glued at the moment, apart from the few bits and pieces like the windowsills and the roof is painted. But yeah, this one I think I'm gonna glue as I assemble it. So yeah, I will get that done and show you what it looks like. Oh, didn't tighten it back up enough. Sorry for making you seasick. Yeah, so I'll get that done and carry on putting this together, and be back if there's any other interesting like changes as I'm making it. But if not, then yeah, we'll just crack on. I just finished putting the third or fourth layer of papier-mâché, toilet paper and glue on this, and yeah, it's coming on nicely. It's not going to be the last one. At the very least, if I turn it around, I'm going to have to do a little bit more on these little sections here, which that one is literally soft, and I need to make that a little bit smoother. So yeah, there's still a little bits of stuff to be done after this one, but I think that the main part is going to be okay now. So yeah, that has worked out really nicely, and I think it looks like a really interesting hill. Hopefully it'll be fun to play on, and hopefully it'll be hard wearing enough, which is also obviously a challenge. Now I've had an idea of a third style of hill, so I will start that next and show you that one, which is going to be potentially slightly easier to work on. Not sure whether I'll do bark on that one or not. I might do, I might not, I'll work it out. But yeah, once I've got this to a stage where I can put it on to start painting and doing the sand, then I will then I will start my third style of hill. This is turning into quite the project. Well, there we are. I kind of got a little bit distracted and embedded in making that cardboard hill, and I've had a lot of fun with it. It was gave me a lot of joy at the end of the week, that. But yeah, there was some variety in there, just then a big chunk of hobbying time spent making hill. So hopefully that was enjoyable and interesting and informative and maybe inspiring. If you can't get hold of the materials that a lot of us take for granted, then there are options and alternatives, and that was the reason why I'm doing that build. Anyway, don't forget to vote. Pop your comment below with the name of the miniature you want me to paint next week, and you could be in with a chance of winning one of those miniatures. And I think that next week I'll be doing the draw for February, so the votes this week will be going into March's draw, just so you know that. So yeah, thanks for watching, really appreciate it. I'll wrap up the vlog as I always do by saying, if any of you are impacted directly or indirectly by the horrific wars in either Ukraine or in Israel, Palestine, then my thoughts do go out to you and anyone you know who may be in that horrible and unsettling and dangerous situation. Just can't believe that the Ukraine war is still going on, and also the conflict in Israel is still going on. I thought both of those, hoped both of those would be done by now, but yeah, what a world. And just to make it clear, I am in the situation where sadly I know people directly impacted by both, which is why I say this, because it means something personally to me. And to everyone, please do stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.